always been about people for me. I've never believed in the lone genius. I believe that every person has some spark of genius in a different way. And I have always been inspired by pulling out that spark and weaving a tapestry of people.
Most companies spend years searching for superstar employees. But today's guest believes great businesses aren't built by a single genius. They're built by leaders who know how to uncover the strengths of the people around them. Preetha Pulusani is the CEO of DeepTarget, a company helping hundreds of financial institutions grow through data, analytics, and AI-powered marketing solutions. In this conversation, we talk about leadership, innovation, building high-performing teams, bootstrapping a technology company, and why the best leaders focus on people first.
Before we dive in, a quick note. If you want weekly tools to grow and lead your business, sign up for my free newsletter at stevepreetha.com/newsletter. Good day, Steve Preetha here with the Management Blueprint, and my guest today is Preetha Pulusani, the CEO of DeepTarget, a company that helps hundreds of financial institutions increase loan demand, promote product adoption, and support intelligent marketing through advanced data mining and analytics. Preetha, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you have a very interesting business and a very interesting profile. So I can't wait to jump in. But let me ask you my favorite question. What is your personal why and how are you manifesting it in your business?
So I guess you could say that my personal why has evolved over several years. You know, I spent 25 years in corporate America. And that was the best business education I could have ever received. My first failure as an entrepreneur, though, added to that significantly. And that was right before I started DeepTarget. Luckily, it was a quick failure, but that doesn't mean it was not a difficult one. And in every way, the lessons learned have come handy today. So I believe that I'm in my final chapter of my career. So I can speak from years of experience. And what I feel about my personal why is it's always been about people for me. I've never believed that in the lone genius. I believe that every person has some spark of genius in a different way. And I have always been inspired by pulling out that spark and weaving a tapestry of people. And that happened even in my job in corporate America, but it happens even more with my team today as an entrepreneur in DeepTarget. So it's about empowering people to use that spark rather than focusing on something that they may not be as good as, right? It's pulling out that strength and making it the collective strength of a solution or of how we serve customers, of the business itself. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, this is great. I love that. You know what? My experience is that nearly none of the companies I talk to, or basically none of them, literally none of them, capitalizes at the maximum talent of their team because it's impossible to maximize it, but you can work on it. And that is wonderful.
Yeah.
So do you have a process for how you do that? Is there the mental process? Is it just an awareness? Is it a curiosity, a natural thing that you do, or you actually have a way of doing this?
So I have found that I think I read people. I think I'm intuitive in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see myself as being the orchestrator of whatever it is, whether I'm working on today's problem or whether I'm working on the big vision. And so I don't know that it's a process so much, but I have used it over and over again. It's become a very natural thing for me.
So you talk about the big vision. What is that big vision?
So as a company, my focus is on making our clients successful. And by what that means is by helping them grow their financial institutions. So we work with credit unions and banks, and it's all about growth. And we use innovation to leverage that growth for them. How do you acquire new account holders? How do you cross-sell to them? How do you communicate with them? How do you retain them? I'm a techie at heart, so it's been about how do I leverage data? How do I leverage today, of course, AI, kind of a combination of data and AI to make sure that they are able to see the growth that they need for their financial institutions. And that's kind of become the mission that we have adopted for the company.
Yeah, I noticed that on your website, you have this map of the seven or eight different ways that you're driving adoption and contact with people? And
it's highly data driven. It's very not wishy-washy. We've evolved from being a marketing company to a growth company. And when you take anything that's data driven into marketing, yeah, it's something that people like to do. But what we like to do is use the technology to get to the human.
mm-hmm.
So to get to the individual. So we are helping our credit unions and banks reach individuals to understand each account holder and what their financial needs are. And the only way you can do that at scale is by using technology and data. So we've built a platform that enables them to do that. That's why the front end is all data, right? We can accept as much data as they want to give us so that we can do the right things to help them grow, to engage their account holders.
Yeah. So I like that you're very techy, as you say, techy and data driven. So I wonder, what is your mental model of when you think about these end customers of your financial institution customers? What's your mental model in which you innovate this process? So what are the major elements? So if you had to synthesize it down to maybe 3 to 5 elements that you have to kind of, your levers that you can pull, what are those?
So I'm going to start with the people because for me, everything revolves around the people. What I've been able to do is combine very seasoned pros with fresh graduates from local universities. And that has been a potent combination. Okay, that's number one. Whether I'm talking about development or customer success or sales, that's been the combination that has worked for me. And as a bootstrapper, that has also helped me financially, right? You have a very seasoned pro that I've worked with for years, and you know exactly what strengths they are. And then you put some fresh graduates under them. I'm telling you, there's nothing better. That combination is nothing better. The second thing is I believe in thinking big, but starting small and scaling quickly. I learned that over time. There was a time when we used to have the big bang theory of creating products. We have moved so far away from that. So think big, start small, and be agile. And as a small company, that's a big advantage for me. We have a very flat structure.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're able to have that agility that we need to do to move markets, frankly. If you're going to fail quickly. Have a tight customer feedback loop. And if something's not going to work for your customer, just abandon it. Abandon it quickly. I can't say in all honesty that I've done that every time, but it's always on my mind. Should we really even pursue this? But I know that we've had projects which have really, we thought they would be so successful, but they weren't. But when you spend a small amount of investment, it's easier to just set it aside. Okay, it's not working. This is not what we need to do. Let's move on.
Yeah, I love that. Can you give an example where you invested in a process and you really believed in it and it turned out not to work and then you had to pivot from it?
So the way we help banks and credit unions engage and cross-sell their account holders is primarily through digital banking. So we put up very personalized offers using data in the digital banking environment, use that real estate very effectively, work like a charm. It works like a charm. That's what we do today. We did get a little bit sidetracked by expanding that to email, and we didn't see the kind of pickup and the growth. We tried to understand that. We did a kind of an autopsy, and the difference is when you log into digital banking, you're being served something. The difference with email is you're pushing something out to it has its uses for sure, but the particular aspect of what we had done in the product didn't take off like we expected. So we've just said, okay, let's just do more in what we can do within the digital banking environment.
But that works for farming existing customers of the banks, right? Do you also help the banks acquire new customers?
Yes. And that's where email works, by the way. And so does direct mail, and so do digital ads. When you're cross-selling to existing account holders, you have a lot of information about them. You know, for example, that they rent a home, so you would never give them a HELOC offer, right? But on the other hand, what we're doing for new account acquisition is we're still using data. We're looking at who are the most profitable customers that your credit union or bank has, and using that as the model to find more like customers within a particular radius of their branches. So we are still using data, but in a different aspect and using different channels to reach them versus digital banking.
That's fascinating. So what drives growth in your business?
Well, if you had asked me that question 10 years ago, I would have said innovation drives growth. But what we have found and learned over time is innovation is an engine. Innovation, in a way, actually causes friction. Because when you innovate, you're creating something new. So you have to first go and educate the market. You have to make them understand that there's a new way of doing things, and not everybody is open to change. So if I go talk to a marketing professional and say, hey, here's a new way of doing things. We're using data. I put myself in the place of that marketing person who is already constrained by bandwidth, who's already doing so many things, saying, you bringing another new tool for me to learn and to use for what purpose? So while innovation is the engine, what we have learned to grow is not to focus on the innovation, but to focus on the impact.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that. We really work hard to get into the C-suite. So we are talking to the CEO or the COO or the chief digital officer or the chief technology officer of these banks and credit unions, helping them understand the outcomes. What is it we do? We acquire new customers. We cross-sell to existing customers. We help you retain them. You know, I receive these direct mail solicitations from these mega banks like Chase and Wells Fargo. They're paying me $900, $1,500 to open a checking account. It's expensive to acquire new accounts. That's just an example, right? So we are helping you grow through new acquisition, but we also have a whole playbook for how you retain those new accounts that you acquire. So when you talk at the C-suite, all of a sudden they're not seeing a tool. What they're seeing is, how soon can we see the results is the question we get asked. So we grow through a different way of selling what it is we have to these institutions.
So people don't care how you achieve the result. They just want you to talk about the result.
Exactly. Especially the CEO. I mean, they don't really care. They do care about things like data privacy, and we've addressed all of that. I mean, we've been doing this business for so long. It's table stakes to have data security, but they care less about how you do it and more about why. So we have to talk to the individuals who care about the why rather than the how. Although the how plays such a big part in building a business, right? But that's what we focus on.
That's behind the wall. That's your problem, basically.
That's right. That's the secret sauce. We used to take great pains to explain the secret sauce at some point in time, but not anymore.
Uh-huh. That's interesting. So why do they listen to you? I mean, why do they believe that you can get these results? You show them testimonials, or how do you prove it?
We have, over 200 customers now, customer contracts, it's closer to 300. And so we have a lot of testimonials and references that we can show them. We also let them know that there are barriers to using software like ours, such as, do I need to have somebody to operate the software? No, because as part of what we offer is a managed service. We will operate the software for you using your branding and everything else that you have. So we've kind of removed all of the barriers to this. Biggest barrier today is creating the awareness in the broader market, because this is a huge market, on my bootstrapping budget to make sure that they know that such a solution exists. What we find is once we reach the person, that the decision maker, it's a fairly straightforward sale. I would say that if I'm constrained by anything in order for my own growth, it is because I'm a bootstrapper. I watch every penny carefully, and I have built a company just funded by revenue. And one of these days, that's not going to be enough, but so far, so good.
Yeah. So basically, you create a broader awareness of your products. You have all these testimonials and references. When you get in front of these decision makers, you talk about the outcome and show them the results you can get.
And we have direct sales, right? I mean, we do we have a couple of people, all they do is work the phones and emails and LinkedIn to get us the meetings in front of the right people. Also, Steve, in this day and age of everything digital, what we have found with working with banks and credit unions is that first important meeting with the CEO, we're finding that doing that in person makes a huge difference. So that's another thing that we do.
That's interesting. So does that limit you geographically?
We're having so much success with that model that it just only helps us, more revenue, more I can invest in sales. So we are limited to the United States. We have customers on both, pretty good map of customers on both coasts, if you look at it, and in the Midwest. And there's some blank spaces, and we're trying to address those blank spaces.
So you actually have people fly all over the country to meet with CEOs?
Yes. And it's making a big difference. And this is a change that we made maybe not too far back. I would say maybe about 18 months or so, and it's made a big difference for growth.
That is so interesting because after the pandemic, a lot of companies kept on doing video calls, sales calls.
As did we.
It's probably you did, and as well. But the assumption was that there's no point traveling. It's an extra expense and doesn't make a huge difference.
It
but
makes
the
a
thing
huge
is the opposite, that it does.
Yes, it makes a huge difference. You're talking to the CEO of a bank. Banks still have the traditional generation of leaders. Even I didn't believe it when I was first sold on this whole concept, but I've become a believer now. That meeting, the CEO not only is in the room with you, but brings in his or her key executives to talk to you when you've made the trip all the way to Sacramento. They're going to do that, right? So it's made a difference.
So there's a reciprocity involved. They say that you're making the trip, okay, then we might as well put more into it, and it's a self-fulfilling process.
And by the way, when you have more people in the room, you get more objections, but you're able to address those in person.
Yeah.
Even if you have a video call with the CEO, right? The CEO talks to the CTO. The CTO brings up the objection of, you really need to worry about these guys and their data security. We never hear about that. We just hear silence. We don't know what's going on behind. So you get that opportunity to address all of that. I think it actually works out more cost effectively, surprisingly, as long as those are resulting in deals.
Yes. So maybe that's an inside thing, but I'm just wondering, what is the upside of a thing like that? So if you convert one of these CEOs and they start using their system, maybe that's a business secret, but what is the value of that conversion? Let's say the 12 months value of that conversion that makes you want to do that trip.
So let me give you an example. So our pricing, we sell annual subscriptions, 5-year terms. That's a big deal, right? And when we sell 5-year terms, it can become very significant. So we price based on the asset size of the financial institution, because that kind of determines how large are they, how many branches do they have, how many account holders they have. So let's take institution that's say $1 billion. I'm going to just give you some rough numbers, right? For a 5-year contract, you're talking about 300,000 or so.
Okay, that makes sense. It definitely worth the trip.
Yes, it's worth the trip.
Yeah.
The other way to have that personal interaction we found is very effective are conferences, focused conferences. Many of these banks and credit unions have state leagues or regional leagues or certain technology focused groups that meet. And those are kind of the best venues to actually do our prospect.
And then do you sponsor these conferences?
Well, we do. We're very selective, but we have booths. And in addition to that, we may do some other sponsorships.
Yeah, that's great. So switching gears here, I'm really curious. What is something that you're actively trying to figure out in your business? So if you had a magic wand and you could wave it, then you would want to fix it in the next 12 months.
I've kind of told you that I've been a bootstrapper, and I've been a bootstrapper very intentionally. Because one of the things that I said I would do is I wouldn't be so stubborn as to not take any capital from outside. But the thing that I wanted to figure out before I took external capital was what would give me a multiplier effect. So if I took $1 in, how am I able to multiply that, right? And I'm getting very close to figuring that out. And it's on the sales and marketing side. So if I had more dollars and I have a sales formula that I know works, that I'm guaranteed works, then I should be able to put that sales formula, those dollars, and just add salespeople, right, to grow.
Scale it up, yeah.
So that's kind of been the biggest issue I've had for the past, say, 5 years. But I would say that over the past 12 to 18 months, a lot of that is becoming clear to me. And so I'm getting close, I think, to having that solved, that formula, so that I could say, okay, if I put more dollars, I'm guaranteed to get X return.
Yeah. Some people call this the coin-operated marketing and sales system. You keep dropping the coin.
Yeah, it's taken me years to figure it out. I spent a lot of my early years at the company building a very robust technology platform, because without that, everything else becomes secondary. And then I had this focus on how do I get sales and marketing. And I've tried many things and they haven't necessarily worked, right? I've built up a customer base over slogging over time. But then you want that formula if you want to throw money at it.
Yeah.
And that's where I think I'm getting closer to getting there.
Yeah. And then, marketing media is changing all the time. The different platforms come and go, and then you have different advertising formulas, and then they burn out. So it's actually difficult to stabilize it and to make something that's permanently operated, so to say.
Yeah. And when we say everything is data driven, it's not just on the front end that everything is data driven. We are able to tell the credit union or bank how many products we actually sold, what loans did you sell, how many auto loans, how many mortgages, how many HELOCs, how many credit cards, how many deposit accounts did you open in each month that was influenced by our campaigns. We are able to go back and tell them that. And what are the new balances you generate as a result of that? So it's not about impressions and clicks. We actually on the back end give them very deep data analytics so they can see this is the revenue that I generated last month. And these are the new balances I generated last month. And so that makes a difference too.
Yeah, I saw your website that many customers, they get a 500% ROI on their investment.
Which only says that I'm charging them too little.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, if you look at their balances and how they measure, we almost are afraid to put the actual numbers, but we show them a growth grid that over each month, here's what you made using these campaigns. We can even show them when they turn off the campaigns, what the impact.
So in terms of the bootstrapping, is this a strategy? Let's say you figure out your scalable sales formula. Would you then go to raise money, or you would still want to bootstrap?
So if the revenue that I'm generating can be used towards growth, I won't have to go to raise money, but I won't be that stubborn and silly that I wouldn't get outside capital. I get calls all the time from these investment bankers and from these capital firms. And I was talking to one just yesterday and I said, I'm probably getting a bit closer to being open to capital. Give me another 6 months. By the end of the year, I should know. So yes, I would raise money if I have that sales formula, if I know for sure. And I think part of this, Steve, is because I talked about my first failure as an entrepreneur. It was a very quick failure, but it was a hard one because I had taken money from friends and family and it just was used up and they didn't get much in return. Well, when I had to shut down that company, I actually gave them shares in this company. So I guess I got a bit burnt. So I'm more resistant to getting outside capital until I figured out what the solution is. But I think I'm getting very close there. You get to a point where it's silly to just not take capital.
Yeah, because, someone might copy.
For growth.
You figure out the formula and someone might copy it and then they put more money behind it and then they dominate and then you lose. So that's the only concern.
Yeah.
So if there are listeners who listen to this and say, wow, I like to learn more because, I'm involved in a financial institution and we need to improve our sales and get more customers and upsell more customers, where can they find out more and how can they reach you?
Yeah. So our website has, I think, a wealth of information. So certainly they can go to our website just to learn more about the solution. They can contact us at success@deeptarget.com. That's probably the easiest way to get a deeper dive into what we do and have that one-on-one meeting. And I think that's the best way to learn more. Whether you are interested in going through or not, that's the best way to learn.
Yeah. Okay, well, definitely. I mean, I checked out the website and it's pretty informative. So you get good visuals of what Preetha's team is doing, and it's pretty complex, I would say. There's a lot of nuance to it. So I found it fascinating. So definitely check out deeptarget.com if you'd like to learn more. Preetha is also on LinkedIn, and you can also email them at access@deeptarget.com. Any famous last words to the audience, something that would help an entrepreneur who wanted to bootstrap their business? What would you recommend them to do?
I think starting a business is no easy feat, and I don't believe in overnight successes. It's a journey. It's been one of the most inspiring and interesting journey and probably journey of learning that I've been through. And so I think don't focus just on the end results or an overnight success, but come in for the journey.
Yeah. You have to love the journey in order to
Yeah.
reach the destination, right?
It's tough, right? It can be tough at times, but then you reach a point when it's just the best thing.
Yeah. That's great inspiration for those founders listening to this. And if you enjoyed that podcast, then definitely follow us on LinkedIn, subscribe on YouTube, and give us a review on Apple Podcast. And Preetha, thanks for coming. Preetha Pulusani, CEO of DeepTarget. That was an eye-opening discussion. I don't recall we had many bootstrapper tech companies here. So this is definitely a new element for us and a really good perspective. So thanks for coming and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
That's it for this episode. Keep moving your business forward. Subscribe at stevepreetha.com/newsletter.